Good to see you guys. How you guys doing? It's great to be here. I really, I'm really wish we can all be together. Obviously, when I got the call from Ian months ago about coming out to Michigan, in January and seeing you guys, I was very excited about it and honored once again to be invited. And it's a bummer that we can't do that, but I'm really glad to be here. And I see over 1,500 people on the call. This is amazing, guys. This is amazing. And I just want to let you guys know that if you haven't realized it yet, you truly are at the right place at the right time. And, I've been here. April will actually be my 31st year in the business. So back then it was a little bit different. I started when I was 6. So, no, I'm just kidding. So April will be my 31st year in the business. And I'd like to say that I've kind of seen it all, when you've been around that long. I've seen great times. I've been seeing slow times. I've seen transitional times. I've seen normal times. I've seen steady times. I've never seen a time like this. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But I can honestly tell you, and this isn't podium talk right now, I can honestly tell you that I've never been as excited about the business as I am right now. And that's saying a lot, to be honest. And again, that's not me trying to pump you up, or that's not podium talk. That's reality, because I have some perspective, I have experience, and I see things, and I'm going to talk about that because my mission right now, anywhere I go, whether it's talking to my team or you guys or anybody else in the company, my mission is really to get people to truly understand and recognize the moment that they're in right now and be willing to make the necessary changes in their life to take advantage of it and make it work for them. The way I motivate myself, I've always kind of been like this. It might be a little twisted, I don't know, but I always get excited about the possibility of what's to come if I do it, right? If I do this, my life could be here. And I always get excited about that. But ever since I was young, I've always been motivated by the fear of loss. As Tony Robbins says, I'm more motivated by the fear of loss than the prospect of gain, if you will. And so I would sit there and go, I remember when I got into the business at 21 years old, and, like everybody else, I'm getting beat up by my family, my friends. I remember I used to deliver beer for a living. That's the only job I've ever had. I delivered beer for a Coors beer distributorship. And I remember I had a girlfriend at the time, and I got her a job at the distributorship, and she ascended up into the ranks in the office. And I remember when I couldn't, then of course, we weren't seeing each other anymore, and she broke up with me on Valentine's Day, right? How bad is that, right? That was awful. Anyway, when I gave my 2 weeks and I left to go full time here, she's the last person I saw, when I walked out the door on my last day. And the last thing I heard when I left that job is she goes, "You're really doing that thing?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "What a joke. You'll be back in a month." That's the last thing I heard from her. So I got beat up by everybody, like everybody else. And I remember when I saw the enormity of this opportunity at a very young age, when I got started here, I remember thinking it didn't excite me about what could be as much as it scared me about, I was 21 years old. I used to think to myself, I'm going to be 30, Lord willing, I'm going to be 30 years old someday, when I'm most likely married with kids. What kind of life do I want for them? And what if I'm 30 years old and I'm driving around and I drive by a Primerica office and see a Primerica sign? For a flicker of an instant, am I going to have this thought of, man, where could I have been if I just would have stayed? And the thought of that scared me into doing this business more than the enticement of going out and making millions of dollars, if that makes sense. I would apply the same thing right now. We are in a moment of time, and I'm going to talk about this. We don't want to be a year, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, look back at this moment and say, man, we were at the right place. We had our moment and I didn't do what I needed to do. And so I'm going to talk about that. As I mentioned, I've been in the business for almost 31 years. I started when I was 21 years old. I was not an overnight success story. I came in, I was fired up. You know what I was? And there's probably a lot of people like this surrounding you in your business. Hopefully you're not one of them, but I was up to everything. My first 2 years, I showed up to everything. I was a total team player. I was there early. I gave a great presentation. In fact, I'm the one that did like the opportunity segment of the meeting every Tuesday night because I did such a good presentation. I taught the big game, but I didn't work. I didn't execute. I had such a difficult time getting out of my comfort zone that it took me 2 years before I finally saw this, and I was full-time. I made a combined $21,000 my first 2 years in the business. So that was my, overnight success, if you will. Right. And then I remember going to a Palm Springs retreat. Mike Sharp used to do Palm Springs retreats every year down in La Quinta. And this is why I'm such a huge proponent of big events like where you are today. Guys, listen, I know you're not in a venue right now. It would be more exciting if there were 1,500 people under one roof right now, but it's not. You're probably at home. You're probably in your office. You're watching this. Listen to me. You've got such a lineup of incredible speakers. You got Gary Cornegay coming up. Gary and I grew up together. We're in the same hierarchy. We grew up together here in California. You know how good Gary is. Listen, this is a big event today. And one of the reasons I'm such a huge proponent of big events is because my life was changed at a big event. And here's why, because for you to make it, for you to achieve your dreams here, you need to make what I call the decision. And that decision is a decision that only you can make. You're not going to talk about it. You're not going to discuss it. It's you internally. And it's this decision. I'll never leave. I'm not quitting. That's not the decision. The decision is when you get to a point and you realize, like, look, I'm going to do this, period. I'm never going to stop. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to do what I have to do to make this work, and I will not stop until it happens. And you cross that line. And that decision is only made at big events. This is a big event. You don't know who's going to say it or when it's going to come or if it's going to come today, where you hear that one thing that makes you internally make that decision. I had gone to Mike Sharp's Palm Springs retreats the 2 previous years. And by the third year, my first 2, remember, I was a team player. I was positive. My first 2 years, I didn't do anything really. I didn't have the money to go to his retreat. I wasn't going to go. And my regional vice president did what a good RVP should do. He said, you're going. That year, I actually slept on the couch in his suite because I couldn't afford a room. And all I remember is that's the year that the earthquakes were happening down there. I remember that Rick Susie was a speaker. I don't remember what he said. I don't know if it was another regional leader in my base shop who dominated and won all the awards. I didn't get any, obviously. And I remember the opening night when Mike gave all his recognition. The guy's name was Bill. Bill got all the awards. And Bill wasn't trying to be mean. He was not like that. But he was sitting right next to me. He had all these awards, and the event ended. And he said, Shane, he goes, would you mind helping me carry my awards to my room? Now, he wasn't trying to be mean. He wasn't, but that affected me. All I know is I left there and I made the decision. And I was driving a 1980 crappy, ugly Mazda truck. Couldn't lock the doors because they would never open again. I mean, this thing was uglier than a mud fence. I was living at home with my parents, 2 years in the business. My dad was barely talking to me because he couldn't believe I left such a great job for this deal and I'm not making any money. And I left that retreat. And the next 18 months, still to this day, is the greatest personal recruiting streak I ever went on. Became a regional vice president at the time, set the company premium record for regional leaders. At the time, I did 71,000 as a regional. Back then, that was actually a lot for regional leaders. Now, they do it all the time. That record held for about 7 years. I moved to Fresno because I wanted to go to a bigger area. Fresno's about 2.5 hours away from where I live right now. I live on the central coast of California. I live in a town called Pismo Beach, right on the ocean. But Fresno's about 2.5 hours inland. And so I moved there. I didn't know anybody, started in a cold market. And I went there because I wanted to do something bigger, and we did. I'm not going to make a big, long story here, but we did. I'm going to talk about some of what we did, then what we're doing right now. But I went to Fresno to build a big business. I didn't go there to have a little boutique shop. I wanted to build something big. And we did. We had a $100,000 base shop for about 9 years. And we set the base shop record. I think we broke 200,000 4 times and 5 times. And We set the base shop record of 342,000. That still stands. And obviously I hope nobody ever breaks it. But we actually held the through first record of 811,000 until Willie Naranjo broke that a few months ago. And that's why I don't like Willie. No, I'm just kidding. But he broke that record, and records are meant to be broken, right? So, but we did some great things. We, my highest income year was 1,742,000. The most income I've ever made in a month was 232,000. And of course, the most important thing is we created countless financially independent people. And then in 2012, I moved back home. And I want to talk about this, guys, because I want you to know this, because I feel like this is part of my reason in Primerica is to teach people what I'm about to tell you. In 2012, I shut down my base shop, moved back home with the idea of, I've built it. I think I'm going to be done with the base shop, because how many people come into this business going, I want to build it so I can be done. I'm going to build it so I can be done. I want to tell you that is the biggest lie ever perpetuated on the Primerica sales force. This idea of build it so you can be done. Now, it's nice to build it so if you ever needed to be done, you could. But I did that. I shut down my base shop and I thought, I'm going to golf. I'm going to live. I'm going to do my thing. And I did that for 5 years. And I want to tell you, it was hell. It was awful, because you realize that, just like professional athletes with their sport. Look, if Michael Jordan can get 25, 30 years of his youth back, he would. He's wealthy, blah, blah, blah. But to Michael Jordan, he got wealthy doing something that he loves, that he was great at. Now he can't do it anymore because he's just too old. Jerry Rice, same thing. They just can't do it. If you succeed at something, because this is more, Ian will tell you, winning here in Primerica is more like winning in a team sport than it is in business. You don't win here unless you love it. You don't win here unless you're good at it. And you have a passion. And that passion is not sell life insurance and investments. The passion is helping people, building relationships, helping people. All of you that have children out there, that you get more of a satisfaction and a fulfillment helping and watching your children achieve than you do, right? Well, the same thing happens in this business. So you build it, you're done. That's what I did. And I was just miserable. I'm home. I'm literally like binge watching Netflix. I'm golfing by myself, because all my friends work. They all have jobs, right? My kids go to school. And I realized there was an emptiness inside of me going, I love working with people. So in mid 2017, or right early actually 2017, decided that I'm going to get back going. And when I moved back here to the Central Coast of California, there's literally from Ventura all the way north of Salinas. You don't know these areas, I would imagine. Maybe you've heard of Ventura, but the entire Central California, there's nothing here. So we've been expanding and growing and doing new things. And I'm so fired up. We're in such a good position right now. And I just want to tell you, like I said a few minutes ago, I've never in my life in this business been as excited as I am right now. So let me tell you a little bit about why I'm excited and why you should be excited. Okay. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have a window open for us right now. Now, I want to say this out there. We got a lot of people on this call. I want to make myself very clear to all of you right now. I'm excited about the moment that we're in, but I'm not excited about why we're here, okay? I'm not excited about COVID. I'm not excited about the pandemic. I live in California. California is awful. It is awful. Everything is shut down, everything. I have so many friends that have been laid off, out of work, business owners losing everything. I just recruited a lady named Jen, who's the owner of the private gym that I go to. And luckily she still keeps that open, but she's getting fined weekly, and I just paid one of her fines as a matter of fact, so she'd stay open, but it is awful out here. The situation we're in is horrible. And I want it to end, and it needs to end. Okay. There's a disclaimer, because I don't want any of you to think for a second that, oh, Shane's like excited about COVID because it helps his business. No, he's not. Look at Amazon. Okay, Amazon already upended the retail industry, as you know, right? In fact, we often call ourselves the Amazon of financial services because of the effect that the disruption we're having on the financial industry. And they haven't seen anything yet, by the way. But Amazon is the one company that was at the right place at the right time when this pandemic hit. Because what happened with the pandemic? People got scared. People stayed home. Unfortunately, small businesses got shut down. People laid off. So on. So you've got this enormous segment of the population that if they didn't already shop online, they are now. And Amazon had their greatest year ever. Jeff Bezos' wealth went through the roof. They were at the right place at the right time. I doubt they're doing cheers and hoping that COVID continues, obviously, but they were at the right place at the right time. And in a world where so many businesses are getting crushed, Amazon exploded. Look where we are, guys. Look at us. I firmly believe that the 44-year history of our company, the 31 years that I've been here, however long you've been here, has been to prepare us for this moment that we are in right now. Because what has COVID caused for us? I don't need to tell you about 2020. You know what 2020 just did. We just had the best year ever. We were up almost in every area, more $100,000 earners, more $1 million earners. It's unbelievable. I mean, 4 new $1 million earners in the last 9 days. 4 new $1 million earners in the last 9 days. This is insane, right? When I became a $1 million earner in 2004, I think I was number 47 or something like that. I mean, it was like 1 or 2 a year. And you were like the hero of the day. Now it's like you get your $1 million earner, enjoy it while you can, because someone else is going to take the limelight in about 3 days, right? I mean, that's how incredible it is. Why is this happening? Where are we? Well, let's talk about this. You know, our market, which used to be the middle class, it's not the middle class anymore because the middle class is disappearing. Our market is anyone who's not rich, anyone who's not wealthy. Our market is the 98%. You got 2% that are wealthy. Everybody else needs us. That's our market. I don't even say middle class anymore. I say, look, in the 98%, that's our market. Our market, for the most part, in the entire existence of our company, our market has had to be knocked over the head with the baseball bat by us when we see them. Like, hey, you need help with your finances. Well, actually, you really do. I know you think you don't, but you do. No, I'm okay. You need an opportunity. Well, no, I'm okay. No, you're not. Guys, I've been shouting from the rooftops for 20 years, since the year 2000, trying to get people to understand that, look, everything you've been taught about money, what to do with it and how you make it, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. It's not that it's wrong. It just doesn't work anymore. Look, people are still living in a post-depression era mentality, when it comes to their money, what they do with it, how they make it. Prior to the Great Depression in the late 20s, early 30s, around 75% of Americans were self-employed because that's what you did. You got out of school, you married your high school sweetheart, you started a business, you hired people, you made money, and you invested your money. So 75% of Americans were self-employed, 25% worked for the 75%. When the stock market crash that started the Great Depression hit, it wasn't the crash that caused the problems, it was a reaction. You know that the market could go down 1,000 points on Monday and you would barely blink. You'd go, oh, market's down. Oh, well, that kind of sucks, because you know it's going to come back. You're not going to panic. But back then, it's the first time this happened. The market crashed and it was a reaction. People were trying to sell their stocks and they were taking losses. People rushing the banks to get their money. Banks didn't have the cash. And it just started this snowball effect that led to eventually breadlines, right? And it was a nightmare. Well, when we emerged out of the Depression, here's was the mentality for people. I'm going to get a job. No more business. I'm going to get a job where it's safe. I'm not doing that again. And I'm going to put my money in a bank where it's safe because I never want to lose it again. So what happened is it brings us to where we are today. 25% of Americans, if even, are self-employed, and they hire the 70, and the 75% work for the 25. Now that's worked fine. It worked fine for your grandparents, maybe for some of your parents, but it's not working for you. Why? Because when the year 2000 hit, it was a perfect storm of disaster for American workers. You have 3 major things that hit. One, technology. Technology really burst onto the scene in the year 2000. That's when all of a sudden people were buying computers and the internet. That's like when it really hit. Technology does a lot of things for a lot of people, but at the end of the day, what I'm talking about, technology replaces jobs. Okay. The invention of the microprocessor in 1971 eventually gave birth to the ATM machine. The ATM machine and the proliferation of the ATM machine has caused the jobs of literally tens of thousands of bank tellers across America. That's just one example. The second thing that happened is trade agreements that were not good for our country. Next thing if you're a manufacturer in America, if you want to compete, you have to move those manufacturing jobs out of our country. Otherwise, you're not going to compete. So manufacturing started to drop. And the third thing is all this other effects that have in terms of regulation and laws and things like that made it really squeeze the little guy, right? The business owner. And what you've had in the last 20 years is jobs literally jobs don't pay what they used to. Literally, jobs don't pay what they used to. And I honestly, guys, I do like an hour presentation on this that would blow your mind. I'm not going to do that today, right? So for the last 20 years, we're like, our market has been like, I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm fine. It's like, you're not fine. It's like when someone has cash value life insurance and they say, well, I'm comfortable with it. And it's like, well, obviously you're comfortable with it or you wouldn't own it. But just because you're comfortable with it doesn't mean it's the best thing for you, right? Big difference between something that you're comfortable with versus something that's actually good for you. Well, that's the same thing with people and their jobs versus this opportunity. When the pandemic hit, the vast majority of these people that have never really thought about their money are thinking about their money. People are scared. People are panicked. People are nervous. People are like, because maybe they didn't get their business shut down or maybe they didn't get laid off, but everybody has friends that did. And people are scared. And you've got people around America going, look, I got my TV on my wall. I've got my cell phone. I've got my cars in the driveway. I've got all these conveniences of modern day American living. Yet how is it that I don't even have 1 or 2 months living expenses saved? How is it that the minute this happened, I'm immediately prostituting myself to my mortgage company, my credit card companies, my car loan companies, my student debt companies, trying to get them to delay my payments. And I'm totally at the mercy of the government, hopefully sending me some stimulus check. How's that possible? These are the questions people are asking. And for the first time ever, you've got the 98% realizing that I need to make more money. And not only do I need to make more money, but I need to make it differently. In other words, I need to make more money, but I don't want to get a typical part-time job because that sucks. I'm going to be working set hours, a set schedule for what? Not very much money. And the money I would make is not worth all those hours I'm away from the family. So people have questions, but they don't have answers. They've got all these thoughts spinning in their brains. And for the first time ever, our market is looking for us. Instead of us looking for them, they're looking for us. This has created immense opportunity for us. And I'm telling you right now, guys, we are just now hitting stride because what happened last year? Last year, like every other business in America, we had to adjust. Right? I had never used Zoom. I've heard of it, but never used it as of this time last year. We've known, there's a group of us in the company, the kind of a planning group, if you will. We've known, because we've been talking about this, that Zoom video conferencing is the future of our company because the whole industry is already doing it. Guys, I've got a friend that works for Merrill Lynch in San Francisco, makes a little less than $1 million a year. And a year ago, when I told him when the pandemic hit in March, and I said, we're switching over to Zoom, he laughed at me. Literally, he's like, Shane, we've been doing Zoom for years. And he actually told me, he goes, look, last year, so 2019, said last year, I only met face-to-face with 2 clients. I never see my clients. The whole industry is already here. We've known this is our future. And Zoom, although it takes away a lot of the personal touch, we get that, but so does text messaging. And look, and how many people would rather text than talk now, right? But we've known that the nature of our market, it's going to take us a few years to get there. All of a sudden the pandemic hits and now Zoom's a household name. It's as common as text messaging and social media. I mean, your kids are using it, churches are using it. Anyone that can use Zoom is using Zoom. Everybody's doing Zoom. This has helped us. Okay. I mean, obviously we could see more families easier for clients and growing. I mean, look, I opened my first office here on the coast in a town called Santa Maria. It's about 20 minutes south of me. And my goal, my next market is I want to expand up into Salinas. Now, you don't know of Salinas, I'm sure, but Salinas is 2.5 hours north of me. That's been the market I've been wanting for 3 years. But any of you that are RVPs or whatever, you've been around for a while, you know that in order to expand, what do I have to do? I'm not going to move there. I'm not moving to Salinas, but I've got to drive up there. I've got to make the contacts. I'm going to put a lot of miles on my car. I'm going to spend a lot of time up there. And it's going to not only take a lot of my time to do that, but it's going to take away from my time with the team I'm building in Santa Maria. And they're not ready for that yet. They still need my help, right? All of a sudden Zoom hits and I'm like, I could expand. And we have. And I've got a couple personal directs up in Salinas and they're going and they're rolling. And we've got, as I'm sure a lot of you do too, I've got people in Texas. I've got people in Minnesota. I've got people, and one of my superstars in my base shop right now is about to get licensed up in Washington. I mean, look at what we're able to do. And this is how the pandemic is. So the pandemic has enabled us to move our business faster with things like Zoom technology. But the main thing it's done is it's gotten people to wake up. And so guys, look, prospecting now, recruiting now, it's not even prospecting anymore. It's not a prospecting script anymore. It's never been this easy. It's just have a conversation with somebody. Let me tell you something. You've probably never met anybody that is more scared of talking to people and more fearful of rejection than myself, honestly. It's a miracle that I made it in this business. When I moved to Fresno and as a new RVP years ago and didn't know one person in there and started in the cold market, I mean, that's like putting an elevator in an outhouse. I mean, it just makes no sense because you got this guy who's totally afraid to talk to people, especially in a cold market, and has an intense fear of rejection. So for me to do what I've always had to do to win here, it's taken like really digging deep and having to really find the strength and overcome myself to force myself to go prospect and talk to people or whatever, right? Honestly, today, I've never been this comfortable prospecting. I'm talking to more people right now, truthfully, than I ever have because it's easy. It's no longer, hey, Ian, have you ever thought about making extra money? If the money was right, because it's none of that stuff anymore. It's just like, hey, Ian, how's it going? How you and Jess doing? You guys okay? Just ask them about COVID. How you doing? Because everybody's got a story. How you holding up? Has this affected you? Let them talk. Everybody's got a story. Whether they've been affected or not, they know people that have. And you let them talk and they tell their story because this is on everybody's mind. And then you just let them talk and say, wow, okay, blah, blah, blah. So what's your plan? What's your and Jess's plan? What are you guys thinking? And he might say, well, I'm doing this, Jess is going to go back to school. She's been wanting to go to school anyways. And now that she's laid off, so everyone's got a story. And then you say, hey, have you ever thought about getting a professional license? And they'll always say, what do you mean? And you just say, I always use a real estate example. I say, well, like real estate, for example. One of the reasons real estate has always been such a popular go-to for people, whether it's extra income or a future career change, is because, first of all, anyone can get a real estate license. It's not hard. And secondly, when they become a real estate agent, they're an independent contractor. So they can't be fired. They can't be let go. They have no set hours, no minimums or quotas. It's their own business. And when they do actually sell a transaction or sell a property, they make great money. That's one of the reasons real estate's always been, well, our company is the only company in the financial services industry that allows people to get a professional investment license the same as a real estate, independent contractors, so on. So you just talk to them about it. And it's the easiest conversation. It's the easiest prospecting conversation you've ever had. And it's because the time that we're in, you've got an easy conversation to have. How are you guys holding up? How you doing? Has COVID affected you? Right? Have a conversation. You just go. And when you have this conversation with somebody, you say, look, I don't know about you, but for most people today, it makes sense that assuming everything I'm saying is true and real, it makes sense that they'd take the next 60 to 90 days, learn a new business, learn a new skill, get a professional license, and at the very least, arm themselves with the ability to create a second income stream or maybe even a career change. When you say that to someone, they'll always say, gosh, you're right. It's never been this easy. I've hired more directs in the last 3 months than I have like in the last 4 years, honest to goodness. This is such an incredible time. And I want to remind you, I'm not rooting for COVID. I want it to go away. But the real essence of what I've been saying for the last 10, 15 minutes right now is, look, for the first time in our 44-year history, our market, which is 98% of the population, is looking for us. They're not walking around going, hey, where's Primerica? It's just they are thinking about the things that we have been trying to get people to think about for years. It's never been this easy, ever, ever, ever. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is, let me take the rest of my talk here and let me give you some points, some tips of what you can do to take advantage of this. What you can do to take advantage of this. First and foremost, guys, let me look you in the eye right now. You got to think big. You've got to think big. If you drive a 1990 Toyota Camry, right? It's old. It doesn't have any power. It probably barely gets you where you need to go, right? And you went and bought a Ferrari. That Ferrari in second gear will go faster than that Camry. Are you only going to put your Ferrari in second gear forever because the only purpose of buying the Ferrari is to go faster than the Camry? Of course not. If you got the Ferrari, you drive the dang thing. You sure as heck are going to take it out of second gear, right? Well, unfortunately, too many people look at this business the same way. Here's what happens to people. Here's what happens to successful people in this business. Most of us come from average, middle income backgrounds, or lower. We're not rich, right? We've never made any money. Our parents never made any money. We never even really knew anybody that ever made any real money. We come here, we work hard, we become a regional vice president. And when you become a regional vice president, you're like the most overpaid person around. So if you just put a modicum of effort into your RVP position, you're going to make $100,000, $200,000 a year, because it's nothing, right? It's so easy to do, which should excite all of you that are not RVPs yet, because you just get to RVP and keep your foot on the gas. It's not anyway. So you start making $100,000, $200,000 a year. And here's what goes on in your mind almost subconsciously. Look at the money I'm making. I never thought I'd make money like this. I don't know anyone that makes money like this. I'm the highest paid person I know. This is awesome. Without even realizing it, you take your foot off the gas and you coast. You can't do that. Just like you would never buy a Ferrari and never take it out of second gear because I'm going faster than my Camry, right? I want to encourage all of you to think big. Think big, because look, if you could build a team that does 10 by 10, then you could build a team that does 100 by 100. There's no extra effort. It's just keep your foot on the gas. What you did to get to 10 by 10, just keep doing it. That's all. That's all. I want to encourage you guys to get big. As I mentioned earlier, when I went to Fresno is probably considered like one of the worst, ugliest towns in California, right? I mean, honestly, Fresno, there's a phrase that they use to describe Fresno. And they say, if God was going to give the earth an enema, he'd put it in Fresno. It's ugly. It's nasty. In other words, I was born and raised here on the Central Coast, which is probably one of the most desirable areas in California. People don't move from the Central Coast to Fresno. They just don't do it. When summer's here, I can't even go downtown to Pismo Beach because it is inundated with Fresno people because they escape the heat to come to the coast on the weekend. So when I moved to Fresno, people are like, what are you going to Fresno for? Well, I went for the market. And my attitude was, look, I came to play. I'm not leaving the beautiful coast of California to go to Fresno to be some $100,000, $200,000 RVP. I could do that here. And I had to focus on getting big. And I just want to encourage you, once you get big, you realize it wasn't that hard. Here's the problem. Everybody thinks becoming an RVP and building a $100,000 base shop is some really, really big deal, because very few people ever build a $100,000 base shop. We have more doing it now than we ever have, but very few people build a $100,000 base shop. So everyone else thinks, wow, it must be really hard. No, it's not hard. Well, then how come more people don't have a $100,000 base shop? Because everyone settles, like I was talking about, they settled, right? I'm going to say it again. If you can build a $10,000 base shop, you can build a $100,000 base shop. If you could become an RVP, you can promote RVPs. And if you can become an RVP, you can become an SNSD. It's not a matter of doing anything extra. It's just a matter of keeping your foot on the gas. So what the first thing you want to do is you need to get wide. You know, Ian, one of the things, and I'm sure Ian would agree with me, and I know Gary would. And when we were growing up in the business, especially here on the West Coast, there was one common theme that was always talked about, and you never hear that talked about anymore. And that is the number 25. You got to get 25 wide, get 25 wide. The magic, it was always talked about 25 wide, 25 wide. You got to get 25 wide. It was always width. And there was a number. It was like, you got to get 25 wide. And we don't hear that talked about anymore. You know, because if you're a builder, you've already done this before, right? You know how easy it is to have one good solid leg. And next thing you know, right, you're riding that leg. We've all done it. You can't let yourself do that. You got to get wide. People that still ask me about the big base shop that I had. Again, we averaged like 108,000 for 9 years. They're like, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? How'd you do it? What'd you have? And they always want this magic. Like, you must have had a great presentation. What was your op night? That wasn't it, man. First of all, I was always, during that time, I was always between like 24, 25 to like 34 wide. You know, the biggest years, I was about 30 wide. And these are 30 directs that showed up every Tuesday night, worked and produced, not 30 directs and they were phantom that they're licensed a direct, but I haven't seen them in 2 years. So I got wide, and no one wants to hear that. They want to know that there was some magic sauce that you used or something. No, I did the work and got wide. Okay. And we drove attendance. We drove meeting attendance. You know, we had, you know, the record setting year, I averaged over 260 people a week at my meeting in my base shop every Tuesday night. Right. So you got to get wide. And I want to give you kind of a secret that I've always done and I'm doing right now. And that is, you want to build $10,000 legs. Okay. You want to become a $10,000 leg first. That's a team that does $10,000 a month in premium. And you want to build $10,000 legs because there's something magical about that. When you have a team, and a lot of you are this, and a lot of you have done this. You have a team. It doesn't matter if they're a district, division, regional, or RVP. But all of a sudden they start doing $10,000 a month in premium. That's the first time that your business will start to take on a life of its own. Until you're a built $10,000 leg, you really are the straw that stirs the drink. You are the catalyst. You're carrying the emotional load. You know that if you don't go do what you need to do this month, they're not going to do what they need to do this month. It's all you. When you become a truly built $10,000 leg, that's the first time in your career that you're going to have a business that has a life of its own. It's not all you. Doesn't mean you can stop, but it means that now the team has taken on their own and they're going, and it's starting to feed on itself, it's starting to feed itself, right? And so what I did back then is I got wide and I built $10,000 legs. And my attitude is, all these people doing these big base shop numbers, if they can do it, I can do it. And you should feel the same way. Okay. There's not a person in this company that's better than you. There's not a person in this company that's doing anything that you can't do. Why? Because this is not a professional sport. I can't hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball 450 feet. I never have been able to do that. I never will be able to do that. Ian Pruckner cannot hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball 450 feet. I don't even need to ask him. I know we can't do that. There are people that can do that, and they make about $15 million a year in the Major League Baseball. Okay, that is a God-given gift. That is a talent that I don't possess, that Ian and I don't possess. So we buy tickets and go watch people that do stuff like that, right? Primerica is not like that. There's nothing that I've done or I'm doing or that Ian has done, that he's done, that Gary Cornegay has done or that he's doing that you can't do. Because this is a learned skill and an internal discipline issue. It's not a God-given talent issue. So I recognized that early on, and I would watch these people going, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I know they're not better than me. I know if they can do it, I can do it. Guys, so getting wide, building your meeting attendance, which right now I understand for most of you is probably on Zoom, doesn't matter. Getting wide, building $10,000 legs, driving your meeting attendance, and selling the vision to your people. You've got to sell the vision. Why your vision cannot be, we want to build a $100,000 base shop because I want to be the next hero in Primerica and I want to beat Mario. That's not a vision for your team. I used to always tell my team, look, if we do this, if we build this $100,000 base shop, this is what's going to happen. How many of you want to be an RVP? And everyone in my business would raise their hand, right? Go, look, if we stay at 10, 25, $30,000 base shop, we're going to promote 1, maybe 2 RVPs a year. So where does your dream fit in? We build a $100,000 base shop. We're promoting 1 or 2 RVPs every quarter. It's in all our best interest. Not only that, but you guys are going to be born and raised in a $100,000 base shop. You're going to know what big looks like. When you become RVPs, you've got the template. You lived it. You were a part of it, and you're going to get there so much faster. And you're just selling this vision to your team of why it's big. And people would always say, well, how can I talk about building a $100,000 base shop? We're not even doing 10,000 yet. Well, so, I mean, yeah, you never do anything until you do it. But if you can't say it, I promise you, you're never going to do it. Right. So let me get at some points. So what do you need to do to take advantage of this time that we're in right now? Because that's really my focus. One, what I just said, you got to think big. You got to think big. Okay. First, and besides that, next thing, recognize the moment that we're in. As I talked about earlier, recognize where we are. This is a moment in time, guys. Make whatever necessary changes you need to make to take advantage of this moment, because you don't want to miss it. This pandemic's not going to be around forever. It's not. You don't want to be a year, 2, 5, 10 years down the road, looking back at this moment and thinking, I was there, I had the opportunity, and I didn't do what I needed to do, right? Life comes down to a few moments, okay, where you can make big moves. And this is one of them. One thing that I'm telling my team, I'm telling everyone I talk to is, look, I don't care if you're part-time. I don't care if your dream is extra income or you want to be the next Cornegay. I don't care. Or anything in between. It doesn't matter why you're here. Right now, at least for the next 90 days, but this year, you need to make Primerica a priority. You need to prioritize it. This is not the time to treat this business like a hobby. You could treat it like a hobby, like a job, like a business owner, or you could treat it the way a pro athlete treats their sport. For at least these first 90 days, treat this business the way a pro athlete treats their sport. How do they treat their sport? Do you think basketball is just something LeBron James does? Or do you think basketball is who he is? Well, Shane, what are you saying? Basketball is more important than his family? No, you fool. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. But LeBron James became who he is. Tom Brady became who he is. Yeah, he's got gifts, he's got talents, but you know how you think those guys playing football on Sunday are the best football players in America? They're not. There are people that are way better than them that are not on the field that had more talent and more God-given gifts than them, but they didn't have it up here and they blew themselves up. Okay. Or they took football for granted and they treated it like a hobby versus guys like James and guys like Brady and all these people. They made their sport who they are. Football is not something that Tom Brady does. It's who he is. Primerica is not something that Ian and Jessica Pruckner do. It's who they are. And you guys know them better than I do. You know that their faith, their family, that's way more important than this business. You know that. Right? So I'm not saying it's more important than things like that. But I'm saying is they live this business. And that's what a pro athlete does, a sport. I'm telling you, for at least the first 90 days of this year, you have to do that. And when I say make the necessary adjustments, recognize the moment, make the necessary adjustments in your life to take advantage. So what could those adjustments be? I personally think you should really open yourself up to an honest introspection of the changes you need to make. Are you good with people? Right? Have you learned how to be willing to lose the battle to win the war? Do your people know that you love them? Do they know that? Well, yeah, I tell them, but do they know that you love them? How much effort are you really putting into this? I'm talking about things like schedule, priorities, habits, attitude, leadership skills, which includes treating people, whatever adjustments you need to make, right? Because we're going into a new year and we're going into this new year at a time that our company's never seen before, as I've been talking about for the last 44 minutes. you don't want to be that example. You don't want to live the definition of insanity this year. In other words, you don't want to live your life doing the same thing you've been doing, but expecting different results. You've got to be willing to change. So, next point, recognize who the real enemy is here. Who's the real enemy? What's the real thing keeping people like you and I from achieving the success in this business and in life that we want to live? I'm telling you, it's two things. It's the comfort zone and it's the disruption factor. Now, everyone's heard talks on the comfort zone, so I'm not going to get into that really, because you know that the comfort zone is the big enemy that keeps people from achieving their dreams, because that comfort zone is sitting there going, come on back. Yeah, that's uncomfortable. You know, you're good. You know, you see people all the time. They come in the business going, oh my God, you're an answer to prayer. I'm so excited. You know, I'm not just a 10, I'm a 12. What do I need to do? And then when they realize that this requires work, effort, change, commitment, all of a sudden they slip into justification mode. When they joined the business, they were like, I hate my job. I hate everybody I work with. I need to make more money. I want my wife to be home with the kids, blah, blah, blah. And then within a few months, they're like, well, you know, my job's not that bad. You know, a lot of people would love to have my job. There's a lot of people that don't even have jobs right now. I'm just grateful that I have a job. It's like, oh my gosh, that comfort zone has snagged you and brought you back in, right? But the big thing is the disruption factor. And this is something that people don't talk about a lot. And I talk about all the time. It's not the comfort zone so much that gets people. It's the disruption that they're not prepared for. People like Assad, people like Gary, people like Ian, people like Chris, people like myself, and all those that have achieved high levels of success here, is that we've learned how to win, you know? So at this point, anything in life that we decide to commit to, we do well at, we execute it, because we've learned how to win. Because people like us, what we've learned to do is we know that anytime we want to change our life, disruption is going to come, right? How many people right now, the first part of the year, how many people in America, like they do every year, made the commitment, I'm going to lose weight and exercise. I'm going to lose weight and exercise, lose weight and exercise. I'm going to join a gym. Well, maybe not now, gyms are open, but I'm going to do this. And why do they all stop? Because they all want to lose weight. They all want to get fit. But why is it that none of them do? Because they're not prepared for the disruption that comes with something like that. Just like people aren't prepared when it comes to something like joining this business, or where you are right now and you want to take a business to the next level. When you decide to get fit, and you've got to make change. You can't eat the things you used to eat. You need to eat things that maybe you've never eaten before. You need to eat at different times. You need to carve out time during your day to go exercise and do that. And that's hard. You got to change your schedule. And the biggest problem of the biggest disruption is that you're looking at a significant period of time, like a couple months, of all this pain and sore. And you're so sore when you start, you can't even brush your teeth, right? All this pain and disruption before you even see an ounce of success. And that right there is why people stop. You need to recognize and talk to your people about this. Talk to them about the disruption factor, where not only are you prepared for the disruption, because you're going to start this business, and you got, at least in California, you're looking at 3 months before you even get a license, right? And from zero, just getting started, to division leader, that's when you're going to get about 90% of your gut punches, right? Because you're learning new things. It's disruptive. As long as you prepare yourself for and welcome the disruption. I always play a game with this, right? I'm on a fitness plan. I've been about a year and a half, because I did that 10 years of like, oh, I got to work out. Well, finally I did. I feel great. But to me, it's been a game, because I actually had a day this week, where it's like, I'm busy. I really don't feel like going to the gym today. I just, and the thought hit me, because we've learned how to win. Of this is when most people wouldn't go, so I'm going to. When most people are like, I wouldn't do Primerica today because I'm so busy and my kid's sick, this is when I'm going to, and this is how I'm going to win, right? You make a game out of the disruption. So comfort zone and disruption. Get excited about the disruption. Talk to your people. Next point, get excited about the crusade, guys. Ian, I want to tell you right now, I don't know if there's ever been a time, truthfully, buddy, that I've ever been as much of a crusader as I am right now. Now, we all love a crusade, but how do we really live the crusade with our clients? I'm talking about what we do for people. Now more than ever, people need financial education. They need financial education. They need a financial plan. I'm preaching to the choir here. The three reasons people fail financially: they have no written plan, they have no financial coach, they do business with companies that don't benefit by them becoming independent of them. People don't just want life insurance and an investment anymore. They need a plan. I mean, honestly, I've made a hero out of the budget page of the FNA. You don't need to do the FNA. Just print out the budget page and give it and talk about your clients. Because the first step of any financial plan is getting control of your spending. And what do you have? People aren't walking around in America going, I need life insurance. They're not. I mean, they recognize it now more than ever. But what they are saying is, I need to get control of my money. Where's my money going? The budget page alone, if you just spend time on that and teach people, we ask people, hey, a dual income household, could you guys save $10,000 a year? They're probably going to say, no. Well, $10,000 a year is only $27 a day. Now, granted, not everybody can set aside $27 a day, but when we ask most people certain questions, like, for example, do you brew your own coffee or do you stop at Starbucks? And if you stop at Starbucks, how much do you spend? How often do you go on average? When you go to work every day, do you make a lunch and take it with you, or do you order out? And if you do order out, how often do you do it? How much do you spend? And as we talk to people, especially dual income households, about this, man, all of a sudden you can see the wheels spinning. You can, in their head, going, oh my gosh, we might blow $27 a day. So for a lot of our families to get on track, a lot of our clients to get on track financially, a lot of them, it's not so much as a money problem, it's a knowing what to do with your money, controlling your money problem. So budget adds value, man. Just get excited about the crusade. The crusade is not just life insurance and mutual funds. It's teaching people who have been ignored by everybody else in this industry that can help them, teaching them the things that are going on in their head right now, teaching them how to control their money, how to budget, how to eliminate debt, how to create an emergency fund, teach them. People want financial education more than ever. Get excited about that. Next point, guys, is look, let me give you something tangible here. I'm a big believer in 90-day cycles. Big believer in 90-day cycles. I'm going to tell you right now, the vast majority of people in Primerica, and I mean the vast majority of people in Primerica, have never once put together one real, honest to goodness 90-day cycle. What is a real 90-day cycle? For most people, a 90-day cycle is look at your normal personal activity in a month. Recruiting, sales, prospecting, phone calls, appointments. The activity you do in a typical month, start doing that in a week. Now, you got the people that write a ton of business. Maybe for them it doesn't apply, but for most of us it does. If you think of your normal personal activity that you do in a month, and you say, if I tried doing that in a week, would you agree, most of you, that you'd be working, right? Yeah. Would a lot of you agree that maybe for the first time you'd be working, right? I don't know. And you do that for 90 days. Mike Sharp is the one that taught me this years ago. I'm direct to Mike. And Mike said, Shane, he drew this on a piece of paper. He said, Shane, this is not what you want your business to look like. It's good if it's your heartbeat, but it's not good if it's your business. He said, you don't want your business to do this, because if it does this, it will eventually do this. And you guys know that. He goes, you want your business to do this. He goes, you want to go like this, up, this, up, this, up. And every one of these ups is 90 days. He said, you should move your business every 90 days. You might not explode your business every 90 days, but you want to move it forward every 90 days. Where in 90 days, you look back going, hey, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. In fact, that mentality right there, guys, is something you should help to do every aspect of your life. Okay. I think this year for people like us is the year, this is the moment that we need to try to achieve excellence in every aspect of our lives: spiritual, relational, physical, and business. And you should embark on journeys pursuing excellence. You should get on a fitness plan. You should get control of your finances. You should get stronger in your faith, stronger in your relationships, and stronger in this business. And as you embark on these things and you welcome that disruption, because there's going to be a lot of it in every area, as you're plowing through it, you should have this one thought in mind. I'm not where I want to be, but thank goodness I'm not where I used to be. And that keeps you going. Every 90 days, move your business. And this is probably the biggest point that I can make to you right now. When I moved to Fresno, I took from 1996 to halfway of 1998, 2.5 years, 10 possible 90-day cycles. I can look you in the eye, honestly, and tell you I put together an honest to goodness 7 real 90-day cycles out of 10, where those 90-day cycles, I was treating this business like a pro athlete treats their sport. I was all in. I was working my butt off. I was so uncomfortable. I was killing myself. And that was, 96 to 98, a long time ago. Today, at this moment, almost 90% of my income is passive, and it comes from what I did back then. My best RVP is a guy named Lenny Puente. He'll be an NSD this year. He was a replacement to Alvin Rutherford. Alvin Rutherford was recruited by Paul Cheney. Paul Cheney was recruited by Mohammad Rezvani. Mohammad Rezvani walked into my office in 1997 trying to sell me long distance, and I chased him in the parking lot and hired him. That's when it started. And today I've got Alvin, Lenny. They're two of my superstars, right? Put together a real 90-day cycle, guys. Busted. There's never been a better time ever for you to take these first 90 days right now in the moment that we're in and go get this thing done. And the last thing I would tell you in the few minutes I have left, I know you hear everyone talks about, be a dreamer, have goals. I'm a big believer in cultivating your goals and dreams. I'm a big believer that you need to write them down. You need to surround what is cultivating your dreams. Well, it used to be in my day, I have a dream car, go to a dealership and play the part and try to get, and leave with the brochure. So I have pictures of the car. Now you just go online, whatever you want. If I walked you, I'm home right now. If I walked you into my bathroom, I'm not gonna, but if I walked you into my bathroom and showed you my bathroom mirror, it is littered with pictures, images, things that I've printed and laminated all over my mirror that I look at every day, reminding me of what I want to do. Because you've got to surround yourself with your why. It's not enough just to have a why. You've got to surround yourself with it. Why? Because life is tough. This business is tough. This is a tough time in America. It's so easy to go out there, get your butt kicked in a day, and start having like these thoughts that you shouldn't have, self-doubt and self-criticism and things like that. And if you don't physically see your why, it could be your kids, it could be whatever it is. Because that's the stuff that's going to keep you going. That's the stuff that's going to remind you why you're here. And then you fuel that with that thought that I just talked about of, hey, I'm working hard. I didn't have a good day today, whatever. Hey, I'm not where I want to be, but thank goodness I'm not where I used to be. I remind myself of that, like in the gym, at least once a week. Hey, I'm not where I want to be, but thank goodness I'm not where you. When I have those moments going, am I even seeing anything? I mean, I'm working my butt off and I'm not seeing a whole. When I have those moments, I just say, hey, you know what? I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be, right? You need to do the same. You need to cultivate your dreams so you're surrounded by them. You need to embark on a 90-day cycle. You need to remind yourself that I'm not where I want to be, but thank goodness I'm not where I used to be. So have an attitude of gratitude. You need to immerse yourself into the crusade and get all about the crusade. By the way, when you talk about the crusade, what is our best product? Our best product is our opportunity. You can give them a budget page. You can get them on a mutual fund, but you show them how to make an extra $1,000, $2,000 a month part-time. You're changing their life now. You do all these things, guys, and you recognize the moment we're in. You make whatever necessary changes you need to make, take advantage of it, guys. I promise you, you will look back at this moment we're in right now, because there's never been a time like it. And you'll say, I was there and I did what I needed to do. So guys, I want to thank you for having me. I love you guys. Jess and Ian, man, you guys, I love you guys. Thank you so much. I hope I helped you guys a little bit this morning. I just saw Chris Koob jumped on. Chris, I want to say hi to you. I love your talk at the senior leadership meeting. Always been one of my heroes. And thanks for having me, guys. I love you. I'm going to turn it back to you.